Hey guys, Leigh Calvert here with Briggs, Freeman, Sotheby's International Realty. I want to take a minute with your time today to just run through buying a new home. Maybe you're on the exploration of buying a home, could be your first, could be your second, whatever it might be. But maybe this time you're thinking, you know what? I'd like a new one. I don't want anyone to have lived there before. Quite a good feeling when you're going into a house. You just get less question marks. Advantages, you can get the builder warranty on the build, just kind of gives you a nice cozier feeling of security on that. Well, I just want to run through some things for you to know. So depending on wherever you are in the country, you can try to get a little bit more insight into what you're walking into. First and foremost, before you go into a model home, if you're working with an agent, I highly recommend talking with them before you go. Some builders that you might go to, if you sign in or give them your information, later down the line, they might not actually allow you to build your agent into the sale agreement, trying to have you go alone and just use the builder because of the motion of it's new. There's no negotiations, there's nothing to worry about condition-wise. Why do you need an agent? Well, let me just run through a few things and I'll touch a little bit on the experience I've had helping many people get into a new home. An agent is going to help you look at many things beyond what the sales rep is going to look at. We're going to consider the lot location, not just for now, but for the future. We're going to think about the exit plan. It's very easy to buy a new home. They make it very simple to do so. It might not be as easy to sell it should something in your life change. So reviewing the lot location, what house direction your house would face, how does that factor in with the windows and the natural light and the things that are viewing through the windows that can be a deterrence for someone else buying it for when you want to get out of it. You know, what's the layout functionality? Are there things that we see in a floor plan that when we go through homes with buyers to buy, we get a lot of feedback on what works, what doesn't work, how does it interplay with their family. And so when we're looking at getting someone into a new construction home, we're thinking about those things already because the things you can change in your design with finishes or fixtures for upgrades, we're always thinking about what's the best thing we can do to guide you on the right build. You're going to have to be considering future development considerations with traffic patterns, busyness, road noise, all those sort of things. Are you having a look at that? Because new construction, it's really easy to look and just see open land around and it's beautiful and lots of natural light. But once you add all the houses in, it can completely change the vibe of the community that you might be buying into. We go through negotiations with the builder. Now I'm going to touch a little bit more depending on what type of new construction you'd be looking at, but you know, negotiations can sit with closing cost contributions. Obviously there's price, there's inclusions with upgrades and so forth. We're going to talk about inspections. Some sales reps for new construction might suggest you don't really need an inspection. There's certainly no contingency in your agreement based on the inspection. So why put the money into it? You get the builder warranty. If anything comes up later, you get the warranty company to come out and they'll do a fix. Well, that's so risky. You really want to be getting it ahead of time and you give them the whole report and look to have them complete everything on the report. Your agent is going to not only give you a more prominent negotiation position because of the experience that the rep knows that we have, but it's also going to have guidance for us on which ones we need to push perhaps more than others. Then obviously the cosmetic side of things before you move in, an agent's going to really know how much we can push a builder on certain repairs. For example, one of my key ones, I always check all the windows for window scratches, right? Now, there's a certain scratch in most windows to a degree, but you know, really look at all those windows. In my own house, there was a scratch and I didn't catch it beforehand, and then I went and put the pool in the back. So once we moved the ground, I couldn't get that window replaced because it could have happened after adaptations later. So I really try and get all the windows checked before you moved in. Lastly, again, just a BS protector on things regarding inspections in regards to the sewer line. For me, I'm a big proponent of checking the sewer line before you move into something. It's one of those hidden aspects, but when something goes wrong, it's a really, really messy and costly issue. Again, looking at the drainage around the property, how's that laid out? What's going on with the grass, if you have grass in this one? Where can you push the builder and the sales rep on what to do before it closes? So all these things that an agent can bring to the table to help you out in making sure you have a seamless purchase with a builder. Anyway, let's go and move forward into the types of things you could purchase. All right, so there's different types of new construction you could buy. You could buy an inventory house, right? Inventory is the builder has gone and built it already without a buyer. They've got product available ready for you to move in. Now, these come across all different price points, less as you get towards the more higher end, because the higher end you get more of a customized buyer that wants to put in those things. But lower end through to mid-grade customs, you likely will see an inventory house. These ones are probably the most negotiable properties a builder will have because they're almost classed as dead weight. They need to shift it. They don't want to be running the holding costs on the property. They're great to send people through that lead them to go and build something and put some more customization in. So there's a great purpose for them to buy it, but they certainly want to make sure they're not sitting on their books. So these are the ones where you can negotiate on price. They're the ones you can negotiate on closing costs, but you can't make any changes to the property before you buy it. Stepping up a little bit further, then you've got what we call pick a plan, right? So you go in, there's various floor plans available. You might have some small changes you can make with cosmetic. They might give you a different appliance package or a way that you might fit the color scheme in the property, but very limited. This really sits on more of your entry-level new construction homes, more of what we would regard as the production builders, where it's on quantity of homes versus necessarily the quality of the home. Now, these ones, you can still get some level of negotiation, not as much. They really have their set pricing on there, but you might lean more in lender incentives. They likely have an in-house lender that gives a very competitive financial package for you to buy the home versus what you might find in a traditional lender. Doesn't mean you shouldn't explore other lenders to compare the rates to find if you've got the right one before going into it. I know I've had people use traditional lenders versus the builder's lender. The package just ended up making more sense, not necessarily in the short term, but the long-term approach. Beyond that, you get the semi-custom homes. Now, these are the ones where, again, you're still working off a floor plan, but you're going to a design center, right? And this design center, you're running through options for flooring, countertops, wallpaper or paint, handles, light fixtures, plumbing fixtures. You're really going through a lot of the different things that go into the house beyond what you've done with the floor plan. Again, this is semi-custom. Great opportunities to negotiate around closing costs. They're probably going to give you design center credits as your opportunity to negotiate. Price, it's really difficult to negotiate on price because there's no set price at the end because of what you're going to go through with the design center. So getting design center credit really sits on where you might negotiate that one. Obviously, post design and going through the build, you have everything with your inspections still. Again, you don't have a contingency to get out of the deal based off the inspection, but you certainly have the right to make sure it's inspected and get everything absolutely tip-top. Lastly, full custom. Full custom, you might work off the framework of a floor plan that you like, right? You might go to Mascord. Mascord is a website where they have thousands of floor plans. And you might find a floor plan on there you like, and you take it to the builder and you say, this is the floor plan I'd like. You might make some adaptations to it. They've got to run it through an architect or engineering to make sure that the framework of the build could all work with what you're looking at doing. Then you have a credit or an amount that's applied towards appliances, finishes, flooring, all of that sort of stuff, landscaping. You're really going through a far more detailed approach in building a property. You might not find these in developments. In fact, you highly likely won't find them in developments where you've got various builders. But you can go to a builder for a site, possibly on half an acre or an acre, and build your custom home. Now, financing these properties, the inventory home, the pick a plan, the semi-custom, generally you're going to do that all with putting down an initial earnest money deposit. There's no really option fee because you don't really have the option to inspect and leave the deal. You'd likely, if you're factoring in design center, going to add additional non-refundable money for certain selections that you make into the property. Because for example, if you for some reason lose your job or you just bail on the deal, you'll lose your earnest money and you lose your non-refundable payment towards the upgrades you've made. Well, the builder now has to sell a property that's been customized for you and not generally what they would do for the everyday buyer. So you do the down payment for the earnest money, you do the non-refundable money for the design center, should that be part of your experience. And then the rest of the money comes at the end of the deal, just like a typical purchase. Now, when you're doing a full custom approach, there's two different ways. You could have the builder finance the build and kind of still go through that traditional way of initial down payment and then close on your loan at the end. Or you might get a construction loan yourself, right? And that's where you're going to a lender, you're getting the loan based off buying the land and the plans for the build. You close on the lot, and then you're paying interest on the lot and giving installments into the build as it's going along, right? Most times, that's the way I did it when I built my house. That's the better way. The builder's going to give you a higher charge if they're financing it. If you're financing it through a construction loan, generally that's the most affordable way to go through that approach. You're still having to balance the design center and upgrade costs. Again, generally, if you're doing a full custom, that's the way that I've found to be the best approach to it. All right, so just to recap, we've talked about the types of new construction homes you can get into, right? And we've talked about a little bit about the financing, why an agent is a really important aspect of trying to buy a new home that I highly recommend. I'll give you a little tidbit of a story. So I had someone looking to buy a new home. They're having it built. It was definitely a semi-custom, picked the plan, went to the design center. We're going through the motions. Well, we started doing the financing through the preferred lender for the builder. And the buyer ended up losing their job during the build, right? You think disaster, obviously we're not going to qualify for the home anymore. And so the lender's trying to work with us and the in-house lender, and the buyer does end up getting a letter of future employment, right? But the in-house lender didn't offer the approval for the loan because the employment was coming later. Well, I ended up finding through my own network lenders that could approve them based off the structure and what's going on. So not only did we able to keep the buyer's home they're living in right now, they get to move in, they've got their employment coming, they didn't lose the house, they didn't lose their earnest money, they didn't lose the money they paid for upgrades going into the property. They got to keep it all and move forward. If it was just the sales rep from the design center, would have been lost. And it just would have been heartbreaking for the buyer to not only lose employment, but then also dole out cash for a property you're not going to live in. So we kept that one together, obviously going through the inspections. It ended up being a great product. Another one, there was a story about a buyer who went into a property and they didn't use an agent and they didn't do the inspection. Within the week of moving in, they had to move out again because the plumbing lines weren't checked and the pressure levels in the plumbing lines were overpressurized when the buyer moved in, and the plumbing lines started to leak and water started coming through the ceiling. Disaster. Now, the builder obviously got it all fixed and repaired, but what a headache that you could have avoided by doing an inspection before moving forward with the purchase. I've got stories upon stories I could give you, but key thing is, when you're thinking about new construction, know what your options are, talk to an agent, and understand what areas you can negotiate around. Think about the exit plan. Please think about the exit plan about when you're trying to move out of the neighborhood, not just when you're moving into the neighborhood, and you should be set in the right way. If you have questions or you want to quiz me on some things around your new construction plan, wherever you are in the country, please feel free to reach out. Like and subscribe to the video, message me in the comments, reach out through the website, whatever works best for you. In the meantime, thanks for watching. We'll see you again soon.